he could diagnose it right away, which was very important because I had about this much, about a yard of my intestine that was dead. And there was a little more dying every few minutes. And in about 2 hours, I'd be dead along with my intestines. So by now, he had me on a little morphine, so I wasn't feeling so much. In fact, I like the morphine. I'm just used to a little wine, a glass of beer. This was quite a departure. It was very And he leaned into my face and he said, now here's what's happened. Some of your intestine has gone bad, and we have to cut out the bad part and sew the 2 good ends together. And I said, oh, you're going to do an end-to-end anastomosis. You should have seen his face last night. He said, how do you know that? I said, oh, I did many of them on MASH. That was the first operation I learned about on MASH. And you had to sort of know what what the idea was, so your hands would go in the right place, things like that. And while MASH was on the air, he was watching MASH while he was in high school. So the two of us came to this from a fictional background. And it was a very, it was very interesting. I didn't get scared, which surprised me a lot because all my life I had thought, I want to know exactly how I'm going to die. I want to die in my sleep. I don't want to notice it. And here I was just taking care of business. I dictated a letter to my wife and to my children and grandchildren. And then they put me out. And, well, the end of the story is I lived. And in fact, it was wonderful. 2 of our daughters came. We have 3 daughters, and 2 of them came down to see me in Chile while I was recuperating for a few days. And our middle daughter was very funny. She said, "Wait a second. Hold it. You dictated your last words, and we don't know where they are. We don't know what happened to them. Maybe you left everything to me." She has a good sense of humor. So I got back to the States, and I was really, really glad to be alive. I mean, I was a little euphoric, and I was very much aware that everything that I went through every day was something that wouldn't have happened if on that night, October 19th, 4 years ago, if I had just gone, if I checked out. And it's very interesting. I think a lot of people who go through this, and I've bumped into a number of them now, some of them having had the same operation, everybody feels really glad to be here. It's a wonderful feeling to be that aware of your life. And I loved my life before this, and I enjoyed everything that I did. And yet, now I was enjoying it even more. And I was looking for ways to get even more juice out of it, because now, I mean, you have a greater awareness, that this time is limited. Certainly when we're kids, we think it's going to go on forever. And even as we get older, we know it's kind of indefinite, but boy, you realize that there might come a day sometime when it's going to stop. And whenever that is, I kept that feeling going for a long time, that I wanted to be able to enjoy it, and then I started to get this thing of I didn't want to just enjoy it. I wanted to get the most out of it and feel the most satisfied with it. In fact, I started looking over talks that I'd given, things I had said to young people, like at commencement exercises, or things I had said to my children or my grandchildren. I thought back on them, and I was trying to figure out what kind of advice I'd give them, because I'd always told them to look for values and think about what made their lives meaningful. And so in the middle of the night one night, I hear this voice in the back of my head saying, "So tell me, have you lived a life of meaning?" I'm talking to myself. Excuse me. So my answer was, I said, what are you kidding? Look at what a wonderful life I've had. No, really. And I said, but if you don't wake up tomorrow, which, was like an idea that wasn't too alien to me now. If you don't wake up tomorrow, will this have been a life of meaning? So then I started trying to figure out what meaning meant to me. And you know, if you say meaning enough, it doesn't have any meaning. So I think I boiled it, I had to define it for myself. I think for me it's a kind of a lasting feeling of satisfaction. And I've been lucky enough to live through a lot of different things that most of us regard as meaningful. You know, I love my family, I've been an artist most of my life. And these things do give you a sense of meaning. Helping out other people and that kind of thing. I've been involved in that.